Toward the beginning of the film, Jillian Armacost looks through her window as a shuttle takes off. She is a second-grade teacher at a middle school. Abruptly, one of her students tells her that there is a call for her. Jillian takes the call, which ends up being from the NASA Communications Center. The telephone is then associated with her husband, Spencer Armacost, who is an astronaut working for NASA. The call appears to be improper for Jillian, as her husband ought to be orbiting the Earth at this moment, but she cheerfully discusses with him. Later at home, she discusses this with her sister Nan. The last thinks Jillian is fortunate to have a husband like Spencer. Unexpectedly, the television begins showing breaking news, covering the new mishap at one of NASA's space stations. Incident included her husband and another NASA captain named Alex Streck. Simultaneously, the doorbell rings, and when Jillian responds to it, a man named Sherman Reese presents himself and says that he is from NASA. Proceeding to explain everything to her, Sherman requests that Jillian go with him. Next, Jillian is taken to the NASA headquarters, where she meets Natalie, Alex Streck's wife. The stressful ladies embrace one another, yet are dead to trust that their husbands. But the NASA director shows up and gives them the uplifting news: their husbands are safe and alive. It is then uncovered that Spencer and Alex were working in space, fixing a satellite, when unexpectedly there was a blast. Because of this, the NASA Communications Center lost contact with them for some time. Director illuminates the wife that their husbands have boarded a shuttle and are currently getting back to Earth. Sherman then taps on a transmission camera, empowering the ladies to see their husbands from Earth. A couple of hours after, Alex and Spencer land securely, yet are taken to the hospital because of wounds from the blast. The doctor guarantees Jillian that her husband will be okay. Notwithstanding, Alex has sustained significant wounds, so he has to be kept in the emergency unit. As the days pass, Jillian spends her time sitting alongside her husband's bed while he is recuperating. Ultimately, Spencer awakens, alleviating Jillian from her concerns. Nonetheless, Alex's condition proceeds to disintegrate. In one case, he experiences a health-related crisis, because he requires electrical cardioversion. When Alex begins acting viciously, the doctors need to revive him. Natalie sorrowfully watches her husband from the sidelines, incapable to help him by any stretch of the imagination. Yet, fortunately, following quite a while of horrifying wait, the doctors make do to save Alex and put him on medication. Not long, the astronauts are commended for their chivalrous deeds. While at a celebration party, Natalie imparts her anxiety to Jillian. After her husband recuperated, he hasn't expressed the slightest peep about the accident, but it ends up, Alex as well as Spencer has likewise been fairly tranquil. However, the two ladies presume that their husbands essentially need a chance to recuperate from the nightmare. After the party, Spencer lets his wife know that he has chosen to leave the help and acknowledged a situation with a New York-based company, McLaren. Jillian is disturbed about leaving the city, as she has become acclimated with it. Yet, she doesn't have a very remarkable decision. The next day, while the couple is joining in another event, they notice Alex's forceful way of behaving toward his wife. He is contending with her over something at a close-by table. Abruptly, Alex begins draining from his mouth and drops to the floor. Spencer rushes to keep an eye on his associate, however it's past the point of no return. Alex is articulated dead on the scene, crushing everybody around. Not long, a public interview is held, where the NASA delegates attribute Alex's death to a stroke. During the memorial service, Jillian approaches Natalie in private to comfort her. Natalie shares that recently, it seemed like her husband was talking with someone, not of our reality. She additionally feels as is somebody living inside her. Jillian solaces her, believing the injury caused Alex's death. She then joins Spencer, abandoning Natalie in the room. A couple of moments later, they out of nowhere hear a shout. Everybody hurries to Natalie's room, just to find her dead in the bath. It ends up that she committed the incomprehensible, unfit to bear the aggravation of her husband's misfortune any longer. Sometimes later, Jillian and Spencer move to New York. At a work party, she sees her husband acting in an unexpected way. He was never a social person, yet presently has numerous world-class circles. Jillian asks him to enlighten her concerning the spacewalk incident and what occurred during the 2 minutes when their connection with NASA was closed. Notwithstanding, when he begins replying the following thing, Jillian knows she is sleeping with him. Everything is by all accounts like a dream to her, and she can hear Spencer's voice behind. Some other time when she awakens, Jillian feels a sharp aggravation in her stomach. She likewise hears peculiar noises inside her head, something which she had never experienced. Next, Jillian keeps on being overpowered by what she encountered an evening or two ago. She calls her sister Nan and informs her that she can't live in such a big city as New York and that things have been exceptionally strange recently. Subsequently, Jillian figures out she is pregnant with twins, but for reasons unknown, she feels no delight. One night, Spencer takes Jillian to eat at his boss, Mr. McLaren's place. The last is a very modern and materialistic person, something which Jillian disdains. When he and his wife go away to put their little girl to sleep, Spencer asks Jillian what has been the deal with her of late. Jillian lets him know that she doesn't have a place with his recently found first-class circles, and neither does he. She tells him that he had once told her he could never surrender his job as an astronaut, but after the mishap in space, Spencer has changed. Then, with an apprehensive tone, that's what Jillian uncovers. She is pregnant, likely arousing a lot of pleasure for Spencer. The next day, the couple goes to the doctor to analyze the pregnancy. When she and the doctor are separated from everyone else, Jillian shares that throughout her life, after her parents died, she looked for psychiatric care since she began to see her friends and family dead, including herself. She likewise lets the doctor know that as of late, she has been having bad dreams, which she fears could influence the pregnancy. Hearing this, the doctor exhorts Jillian to call her assuming a crisis comes up. After the meeting, Jillian chooses to join a support group of moms who are anticipating twins. This ends up being smart as she at long last gets the inspiration and help she was searching for. A couple of months after, Jillian gives off an impression of being truly okay with her pregnancy. She and her husband are presently happily anticipating the introduction of their infants. At some point, when Jillian visits the baby shop, she is unexpectedly drawn nearer by Sherman Reese, who looks stressed. He says that he needs to discuss the 2 minutes when her husband didn't have a connection with the NASA Communications Center. He likewise inquires as to whether she has seen Spencer acting contrastingly since the space mishap. It is uncovered that Sherman has been ended from NASA. After his investigation, he had demanded to the authorities that something was wrong with Spencer. However, all tests returned normal. He shows Jillian a few papers and demonstrates that Spencer's signature is different since his return from space. Moreover, his clinical pointers have likewise been changed. Notwithstanding, Jillian thinks Sherman is insane, and her hunch is additionally affirmed when she discovers that he was terminated by NASA. She asks him not to seek after her, but rather Sherman is relentless. When he uncovers that Natalie was pregnant at the hour of her death, Jillian is shocked. Sherman is completely convinced that something more occurred than only a blast while the 2 astronauts were orbiting Earth. He then gives Jillian a recording device, which contains the whole discussion between the astronauts while they were in space. Afterward, Jillian pays attention to the tape and amazingly discovers that Alex and Spencer saw something during the 2 minutes, something which they had never seen or known about in their whole lives. Unexpectedly, there is a thump on the door, and Jillian apprehensively goes to open it. To her help, it's simply Nan, who has come the entire way to New York to surprise her sister. As the two talk, Jillian explains all that has been occurring in her life lately. She, likewise, discusses her new discoveries on Spencer, however cautions her sister to not discuss with anybody. One night, Jillian gets a call from Sherman and incredibly discovers that Natalie was pregnant with twins. She quickly asks some information about the twins, and that's what Sherman answers. He really wants to meet her face to face to show her. The next morning, the two meet close to Subway, yet similarly as they are going to talk Natalie's autopsy, Spencer appears. Jillian rapidly conceals herself and the two men begin talking about their time in NASA. When the discussion halts for a really long time, Jillian takes off from the scene. Afterward, she attempts to reach Sherman by calling the hotel, where he is right now staying, yet without much of any result. Fortunately, as a contingency plan, Sherman has sent Jillian a key to a vault. There is likewise a note addressed to her, which directs her toward an area. After arriving at there, Jillian finds photos of her husband and discovers that Sherman had been watching out for him since his return from the space mission. She likewise finds a VHS videotape, yet when she attempts to play it, the light out of nowhere goes off. Jillian frenzies and takes off from the vault. At this point, she is sure that something evil is after her. Later at home, she watches the video, where Sherman shows what truly occurred in space. He explains that there was a puzzling sign close to Spencer and Alex when they lost contact with NASA. Sherman thinks the sign was an alien that trying to get to Earth, so they assumed control over the astronauts' bodies. Notwithstanding, Alex's vitals didn't support the alien's mass, causing his death. Jillian relates the video to her husband's new unpredictable way of behaving and how she has been confronting bad dreams about her death. She additionally perceives the sign, which sounds precisely like the one she had heard during the work party in New York when she was fairly oblivious. After seeing the video, Jillian is think that her husband isn't who he says he is. He is an alien, and there's a high chance that her unborn twins are likewise from mind-boggling. Following this acceptance, Jillian endeavors a medical abortion, however is before gotten by Spencer in the act. He then slaps her, cautioning her to avoid anything like it later on. Accordingly, Jillian hurls herself down a stairwell and awakens in the hospital. Spencer uncovers that the twins endure the fall, however cautions all her quiet about what had occurred. While recuperating, Jillian sees a dream, where her sister, Nan, is killed by Spencer, blown a gasket. She leaves the hospital all alone, yet Spencer follows her due to his odd connection with the alien twins inside her. She gets back, rapidly blockades the door. Also, goes into the room where she envisioned her sister was killed. Jillian then sees her body on the floor. However, at that point it is gone, most likely since it was a dream. When Spencer breaks his door into the loft, she has overflowed the kitchen floor with water. With a radio in the sink and an electrical rope connected to the wall, Jillian holds the closures of the ropes in each hand and asks Spencer to avoid her. She then sees horrendous nail blemishes on his hand and understands that her sister is truly dead, similarly as she had envisioned. In the last showdown, Jillian lets Spencer know that she knows what his identity is, and that he killed her sister. Hearing this, the alien inside Spencer's body at last shouts out and says that he killed Nan since she was holding him up. Presently, he lives within Jillian. Through his linkage with the twins, all of a sudden, water starts pouring down from the roof, and brilliantly, Jillian takes her feet off the wet floor and interface the lines. This sends a destructive flood of current towards Spencer, killing him what's more, for all. Nonetheless, the alien inside his body emerges and sends into Jillian. Quite a long while after the occurrence, we discover that Jillian has remarried and her twin children are carrying on with a totally ordinary life. Her ongoing husband likewise ends up being an astronaut, very much like Spencer used to be. The film closes as Jillian gladly watches her children board the school bus. She is certain that they will likewise wind up like their dad. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.